Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 108. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay, what the fuck were you up to this week, man?
Well, you had a great bonfire party. That was a lot of fun, and I actually...
You were here for only 2 hours. You don't know how great it was.
I had a great time.
You can't speak to the grandeur of my bonfire.
I stayed for like 4 hours. Way longer than I wanted to, because I was supposed to get up so early the next day. And I was having such a good time with you and Lauren and your sister Kim and Sam, her husband, was here, and our friends Tara and Dugan. You know, it was a good time.
And you were actually early for once. It's amazing. That like never happens. You're never early.
I literally did nothing all day long, pretty much, and I finally went shopping for the bonfire, did some s'mores, bought some beers, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't want to watch a movie. I didn't want to like just do anything around the house. I was literally just like eager to party. Because I worked for so long, like for 12 days straight, I think I worked, and I was just so happy to have like a day off. Like I literally just did nothing all day long. I just vegged out. So then at the time, you know, the party was rolling around. I'm like, I need to get the hell out of the house. I want to do something. So that's why I came over early,
And it was a good time. We always have fun when we sit around the fire and stuff like that. It was a little hot for a fire, though. I mean, I was sitting far back away from that fire. But we ended up, I know you left sometime a little bit before midnight. But
it was very close to midnight, yeah.
Me, Kim, and Sam didn't actually wrap everything up until about 4:30 in the morning. So,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'm sure people who listen to my sister Kim when we talked about inner space on the show, they can realize that me and her can banter for quite some time.
I know, but damn, 4:30.
So yeah, that was a good time.
You were going to sleep when I woke up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Essentially.
I slept for the first time ever. I slept until almost noon. I slept till like 11:30 on Sunday. Like I just slept in. It was so nice. It was choice. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I had played in a golf outing and it started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning all the way until pretty much 8 o'clock at night.
And you crushed quite a few beers here, because I was cleaning up the next day, and I think I counted you had 7 total.
I think I did. Yeah. I was doing the math too the next day, and I'm like, I think I actually
I cleaned up your area. 7. Me and you were slobs. We were just throwing cans on the ground outside.
But
and
7 beers in 4 hours is pretty okay for me. And I didn't drink any whiskey, so I'm fine.
That's the way I sold it to myself. I was like, it was 4:30 in the morning by the time I went to bed. When I cleaned up for my area, I was like, there's 9 beers sitting there. I had 9 beers, and I remembered like, I started drinking at 8 o'clock at night, and I was drinking water like in between most of those beers.
No, you were.
So,
you were very good, because you were sick earlier that day.
Oh, I was sick. Yeah, I was sick all week, dude. Just fucking summer colds are the worst, dude, because you can't breathe.
I never get them. I never get them.
It's so fucking hot and so fucking humid, and it's already hard to breathe. And then you take your nose,
sweating like crazy.
Take your nose out of the equation. It just makes everything awful. But it was weird. After a night of drinking and then sleeping until noon the next day, I woke up the next day, no hangover, obviously, because I was drinking water in between pacing
and blowfish.
And my head cold was gone. It was just gone. I have no clue what happened. It was the day before. It was the worst it had been. The next day, gone. And
maybe cutting the grass. I don't know.
No, that would have made it worse. I have allergies this year for some reason. I have no clue. Whatever. I don't want to sit here and say that beer cured me of what ailed me, but it did.
Thank you, Kate May.
Hand to whatever God anyone believes in. Beer cured me. You have your Jeebus. I got my beer.
Cheers.
So tell me about this golf outing, man, that you had to wake up at ungodly hours of the morning where you had to drive.
It was like an hour west in like East Bumblefuck Sticks of Pennsylvania. Like Nowheresville. But it was a really fun little charming course, and it was a fun drinking outing. Like it was heavily promoted to be drinking. I mean, more than any other golf outing that I've ever done. And every golf outing is a drinking kind of event. But there was like 4 different shot tents, a breakfast tent, there was Tully tents, there was like all these tents of just shots, free shots, and all kinds of different assortments of beer. Not normal for a normal golf outing, for $85 and breakfast and lunch. And with an open bar after the round 2. It was fucking insane. It was the steal of a lifetime. A lot of fun.
Now, was this 9 holes or 18 holes?
Oh, 18 holes, of course. Yeah.
Oh my God. Fuck that. It was hot as shit on
It
Sunday.
was brutal. I know.
Fuck that.
And so I'm drinking a lot. I'm sweating a lot. Dave, I haven't felt this worn out the next day in such a long time. Not like hangover, because it wasn't really that. It was just exhaustion. Like my body, my back just sore. I felt like an old man, just so sore and so tired. And I even got a good full 8 hours of sleep for me, and that's a lot.
Drinking in the sun is not advisable, man. It is.
Yeah.
It is not good for you, but I'm glad you had a good time.
I had a great time. But right afterwards, I shot over to my buddy. He moved down to Georgia. He was home for the weekend, and he had a little pool party at his family house. They're moving away apparently too. So it was good to see them all, and you know, that's all I wanted to do. I got in that pool immediately after that golf. It was so refreshing. But yeah, other than that,
sounds like you could have used a hot tub instead.
Yeah, but it was a really nice, enjoyable weekend. Lots of alcohol, obviously, and now tonight recording, drinking some good booze, and so hopefully we're gonna review some good beers tonight, and just have a nice, lovely evening talking about some movies, and we have movie homework later on in the episode.
That's right.
That'll be fun.
I had 2 patrons assign each of us a movie. I had Chris, our patron Chris. He assigned me Quigley Down Under, and Kim, she assigned you Slither, which we decided around the fire
after much debate.
Right. Well, she wanted to give you Evil Dead, and that's well and good, but you already did Evil Dead 2. So I didn't want your next movie homework after that one, which was months ago, to be original Evil Dead. I was we'll get to that at some point. I had a couple other choices for her, and then she was like, and she thought of Slither, and it was like perfect. Slither's perfect for you, especially with all the stuff going on with James Gunn. It's nice to go back and watch something else.
It was interesting to see that
he did. So I did watch some movies this week. Now, one of them I actually wound up shutting off in the middle of it. It was called Frat Star, and it has a bunch of people you've never heard of, but also has Chris Elliott in it. It's a movie from 2017. It's about a kid who goes to an Ivy League school and gets involved in the fraternity culture and stuff like that. And you know what, dude? It just wound up being boring, not funny, even though it said that it was like a late night comedy and stuff like that. And that's what I was into like all weekend. Like me and my wife were watching American Pie 2. We watched Sex Drive. We watched Euro Trip, like just trashy teen, you know, like sex romp comedies.
That's fun though, every once in a while.
Right. So, and this was one that Netflix said like, oh, you should watch it. Dude, it was awful. It's a 3.6 on IMDb. It was just awful. I didn't finish it. I shut it off. I didn't even, from minute 1, there's a point where like he's talking to like a ghost version of himself, but the person looks so different that I was like, is that someone else? I was like, no, that's him. So this is it. This kid's crazy. Are we going to get into the I have no clue where this film went. I ended up shutting it off. But it was ironic because our listener, the Italian, who joined us on our episode 100, he wanted to ask us a question. Whether either of us have disliked a movie so much that we walked out of it. And I have never gone to the theaters and walked out. Now, he just did. He actually He walked out of the theater and he left Mamma Mia 2. His girlfriend wanted to go see it. He was nice. He went, and they both ended up hating it and walking out.
So I'm assuming he never saw the first one.
No, yeah, he saw the first one.
Really?
Yeah. So what's the film that
I didn't hear that many bad reviews for the sequel.
I have no clue. I'm never going to see it, Jay. I don't care. What I want to know is, what film did you walk out at? That's what he wants to know. He doesn't care about your fucking review of Mamma Mia when you haven't even seen it. He doesn't care about that.
Stay on target.
Tom Green's Freddy Got Fingered.
Okay.
Which I guess came out somewhere around the 2000-2002 time period. I think I was like a senior in high school or something like that. And my buddy and I, we went to the movie and saw it, and literally it probably wasn't quite halfway through the movie, and we looked at each other. We're like, dude, this is ridiculous. You want to go? and we left. And the only other time that I came close to walking out of a movie showing was Van Helsing. Remember Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing?
Yeah.
Well, real bad.
I remember me and my good friend Kenny, there was a new Star Wars movie coming out. We knew it was animated, but we wanted to go see it and it was Star Wars The Clone Wars. And I wound up loving the TV show as that TV show went on, but paying money to go see that in the theaters and seeing how childish and campy it was, I was very disappointed because it wasn't, in my mind, my Star Wars at that time. Now, when the TV series, was running,
very possessive of that property.
So I started really enjoying the TV series, but I still really can't go back to that movie. That movie's just awful. I didn't walk out though. I ended up sticking it out, but I remember Kenny wanted to walk out like a lot. Another one that I didn't walk out of the theaters because I didn't see it in the theaters, but I just shut off was the latest Transformers one. Transformers Last Night. I shut that off. It was 3 hours long. I think I got an hour and 30 minutes in and I was like, I'm done. Like
the trailer looked absolutely terrible.
It's bonkers. You just can't follow those plots at all.
Yeah.
If there is a plot at all, you have to watch them like 3 or 4 times to be like, I guess I finally get it. I don't know. Who cares?
It's like the tropes of like what Pirates of the Caribbean was doing. You know, it's like too much access, too many plotting and too many story points where like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, what the fuck?
So because of Iltalian's question to us, I wanted to know from other people on Twitter what films they walked out on the theater for. So let's go through some of these. At Dial M for Movie. That's a podcast. That's part of the Work Life and Balance. Pod Peeps, what up? They said they've never walked out of a movie that they paid for. If they paid for it, they're going to sit down and finish it. But they were watching Speed Racer, the movie on Netflix, and made it 10 minutes, and that was it. And I get that because I did watch all of Speed Racer, but that is just... And they said pretty much the same thing, that it's lights and colors on the screen. It's like a Technicolor vomit job. Like, especially if you have like a high res definition television, you could burn your retinas out watching that fucking movie.
Everything burns.
The Grave Girls podcast, that's at Grave_Girls, said the Street Fighter movie, which I started cracking up at this.
I did too.
Because Mark, who does Movie Cocktail with us, host of Cult Movie Cult.
Oh, hi, Mark.
He loves the Street Fighter movie and wants it on Movie Cocktail so fucking much. And I'm happy to see that other people dislike this movie as much as I do. I remember thinking that movie was garbage, but Mortal Kombat.
Finish him.
Time will tell, but I think that's going to go down in history as a masterpiece.
Goddamn right.
Paul from the Countdown Pod, that's at Countdown PC on Twitter, said Super Troopers 2. He got 15 minutes in and could not believe the dreck that he was being served up as comedy. Now, I get this because you remember I reviewed it and I was not very pleased with it. I felt like it was very try-hardy, like, and it just didn't work and it wasn't funny. And that's 100% like, the same way I felt about it, Paul. I was just able to stick it out, but Paul's got a weaker gag reflex than I do. Dan from Netflix and Swill, he said he couldn't even remember what the movie was called. He just knew that it was some movie that had Hilary Duff in it, where she was looking for her dream man. I figured out the movie. I can't even remember the name of it now, but I screenshot it and sent him a picture of it. Simpsons Treasure Trove said Sausage Party. She left after 10 minutes of watching it. I actually watched the whole thing, and I do somewhat like it. However, it is shocking. I mean, there's a point where a falafel shoves his tongue right up a bagel's ass, to put it.
$15 for a ZJ.
What's a ZJ?
If you have to ask, big man, you can't afford it.
It's an orgy at the end. Spoilers. It's worth your time. Home Video Hustle at HVH Podcast on Twitter said they never walked out of a movie, but they really wanted to when they went to the theater to see Tyler Perry's Temptation on a date several years ago. He wound up finding solace in another man who was dragged to the theater, and they just played a little bit of Mystery Science Theater 3000 together and just sitting there making fun of the film, which is exactly how men respond to being taken to a movie they don't want to see.
Yeah.
So Nick from the Epic Film Guys, he said he's never walked out of a movie that he paid for, even if it's Live by Night levels of insulting disturbingly bad. He actually wants to sit through the entire thing so he can distribute his rage proportionately.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Which, if you've heard Nick review films that he hates, that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
The Master Debaters podcast said that Army of Darkness, he knows that people absolutely love that film, but he just couldn't get into it.
This is my boomstick!
At the end, he says gash, and I'm not sure, like, is he making fun of women there, or is he just gash? I think he means gosh. I don't know, but he said gash, like very big. Suspect. Besotted Geek, that's at Besotted Geek Pod on Twitter, said Tusk. He watched it the other night, and he couldn't get through it.
I can't blame him for that. It's a weird one.
At Nerd Adonis on Twitter said he didn't walk out, but he returned the film immediately. It was Wall-E. I fucking love Wall-E, but apparently he hates cockroaches, can't even stand the sight of them, so he returned the film.
Oh, he's like me.
And he also returned Dragon Ball Evolution. That's another film that I never got the whole way through. That movie was fucking awful. At ATMU Show, all the King's Men, they hate Sean Penn. I'm not a huge Sean Penn fan.
That one. I've seen that movie. It's a really, that's a really bleak melodrama. It's shot digitally, which did not work at all for a time period piece.
I remember not liking Mystic River. Like, I remember like everyone was all about that movie. It actually won the Academy Award too, and got Sean Penn a lot of cred. I did not like that movie.
He won the Best Actor.
Yeah, that's a very bleak
Oscar,
film as well.
It is. I like that movie. I don't love it, but I like it.
That's KC at That's KC Pod on Twitter said The Room. They just don't understand the cult following of The Room.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
I get it. I've seen it in the theater
No
before.
hate on that.
Yeah,
Come on.
I've seen it in the theater before. And it's a lot of fun when you do it with a big group and you all get to sit there and say whatever you want and stuff like that at the screen. It's a lot different when you have like people at your house.
It's a whole different thing.
You do not sit and watch that movie. You sit and laugh at that movie. You need people around you. Otherwise you're not creating
You're not watching that solo.
You're just talking to yourself.
If you watch it solo, you might need a therapist.
Benjamin Hall at Ripperspot on Twitter said Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't get this. I mean, I had my problems with Spider-Man Homecoming, but they were very few, and I actually really enjoyed that film.
Very entertaining.
I don't know very many people that disliked that.
I think I gave it an A-.
Amanda's Pick Show a go-go at Amanda's Pick Show on Twitter said that, again, she will not walk out of a film because she paid for it. However, Birdman gave her motion sickness, and she really wanted to leave. And this year's Detroit.
I can see that.
This year's Detroit did
I never saw
similar.
Detroit. Yeah, I do want to see that movie.
Ben Suttereth at BS3 Sports on Twitter said Bruno. That is that Sacha Baron Cohen film that followed up
when he's
Borat,
the gay TV personality.
Yes, yeah. I didn't finish that film either. I could not stand that film.
I forgot about that.
I think it was because it came out a few years after Borat, and Borat hit me when I was in like my adolescence, and that's like the perfect time to see Borat. But yeah, Bruno, a couple years later, I was not into it. Cinematically Correct at Cinematically C on Twitter said that they also have never walked out of a film, but they've been disappointed plenty of times. They make sure that they get their money's worth by going to the snack bar and everything like that. If you live around us and they serve beer, you get your money's worth by going to the bar. But he said that the worst film he saw in theaters lately was The Foreigner with Jackie Chan, which I was a little surprised about. I haven't seen that, but I heard good things about it.
I do want to see it.
Yeah, people were giving it good reviews.
Pierce Brosnan, right? Is also in it?
I have no clue. I just remember Jackie Chan was in it.
I think Pierce might be in it. He's like the antagonist.
Amanda Dunn at Amanda Actress on Twitter said that she somehow made it through Tusk, but her brain is still recovering and can't quite remember anything before that.
Before you see Justin Long as a walrus?
That movie's rough to watch. I made it through it as well. The Kevin Smith film.
I struggled through it. I did finish it though.
The Kevin Smith film that I did shut off though was Yoga Hosers. I never finished it.
I never watched it. I never gave it a shot because I just couldn't get it. The way the Tusk went and the way Johnny Depp looked, and I knew he was going to be more of a prominent figure in the second one in Yoga Hosers. Right?
Johnny Depp wasn't in it.
He was the fucking French police detective, dude. Heavy makeup. You wouldn't even know it was him. Like, yeah. Surprise. Yeah, he did it like literally on the most minimum salary, and his daughter did the Yoga Hosers movie with Kevin Smith's daughter because they're friends in real life, and that's why it's a weird small world, Hollywood. I'll tell you,
Son of a bitch.
Yeah,
I didn't even put those two together.
You won't even recognize him probably. It was that much makeup on him.
And then he's also supposedly going to be in Moose Jaws as well, but I don't see that.
Oh, it's supposed to be a trilogy. Oh my god!
But I don't see that on his
Maybe
IMDb.
I should watch Yoga Hosers.
I don't see that on his IMDb anymore, so maybe Moose Jaws is not happening any longer.
I'm sure Yoga Hosers made like $5,000.
Down to business Disney at DTB Disney on Twitter said that her hubby wanted to see the Brothers Grimsley a few years back. They left within 20 minutes. Well, she left within 20 minutes. He left 10 minutes after her.
Which movie is that?
That's another Sacha Baron Cohen one with him and Mark Strong.
Oh, yeah.
It looked awful. I never
Yeah.
gave it any attention at all.
Neither did I.
Scheduled Forced Fun at Forced Fun Pod. Forced Fun, that sounds like a euphemism for rape, sir. I suggest changing that name. Battlefield Earth was the one that they walked out on, and Twilight. Well, I mean, I saw the first Twilight in the theater. I didn't leave, but I was with.
It's not that bad.
I was with a girl, and she did want to go see the next one, and I was like, you know what? You're just gonna have to take someone else because I'm not sitting through that. The main Damie at the main Damie on Twitter said that they never finished Justice League. Now I did power through Justice League, and I didn't hate it as much as Suicide Squad, I'd say, but I did not get my level of enjoyment, and I would have waited for home video had I could if we weren't doing a review for it on the show.
Ride ain't over yet.
Oh, man.
Mackenzie Lambert at CinemaMac on Twitter said Human Centipede 3. I've seen Human Centipede 1. I've seen Human Centipede 2. Never saw Human Centipede 3. And
no thank you to all three.
oh, that's going to be rough because another patron submitted a movie homework for you. Our patron Justin submitted one, and it's Human Centipede for you, buddy. So that is eventually coming down the pipeline.
I could barely get through Slither.
You just be ready.
You know what?
It happens when patrons control the show, Jay. They just want to see you squirm.
See, now we have like people like run. It's like we're like a company, like a corporation is now ruining our show, and no, it's not ruining our show. It's probably enhancing our show because I get to complain more.
Top 10 Tuesdays with Jenny said Iron Man 3, which I thought that's better than Iron Man 2. If you walked out of Iron Man 3, how did you even get through minute 1 of Iron Man 2? Longcoat Mafia Pod at Longcoat Mafia on Twitter said Anaconda. And I did watch all of Anaconda right up to the point where John Voight gets vomited out by a anaconda and he does a little wink. He winks before he dies. It's the best CGI anaconda you're ever going to see on the screen. Yeah. I promise you. Wait, no, never mind. Jungle Book came out 2 years ago and it had a really good looking CGI anaconda. Sorry, Anaconda, you've been usurped. Matt Martinez at MRM1138 said that it was Batman and Robin for him. He avoided it for 20 years and then eventually got a Blu-ray box set of all 4 of the original Batman films on Blu-ray. He watched 20 minutes of it, shut it off.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
The man that choked on puns at Jay Lost the Day. That is our good friend John from Who Spiked the Puns.
What's up, Johnny?
He said he didn't go to the movies to see it, but he did buy Green Lantern out of a $5 movie bin. He shut it off within several minutes, cracked the disc in half, and threw it away in the trash.
And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
$5 well spent, sir.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Amazing Nerd Show at Amazing Nerd Show on Twitter said Batman and Robin also. It's just too bad that they can't turn away, so they see it every time it's still on TV. Death by Film at Death by Film Pod on Twitter said that they walked out of 2 movies, Open Range, but that wasn't because of the film, that was because of the theater experience. Now I'm wondering if they mean the Western Open Range or if they're talking about the Disney animated movie Open Range. Not sure. And the other one was the Oz Great and Powerful, just because it sucks.
Oh. Yeah.
The IMDb Journey podcast at IMDb Journey said that they walked out of A Million Ways to Die in the West 45 minutes in, and they were done. It was the worst movie that they had seen that year.
Yeah.
And their worst movie of this year was The Week
It's supposed
of.
to be bad.
FYFC Studios at FYFC Studios on Twitter said that they walked out of, ready, Jay? The Talented Mr. Ripley. And I
Get
told you,
out.
when I reviewed that for Movie Homework, I told you I wanted to shut it off. There was a moment where there was a half hour left in the film, and I felt that was the perfect time to end that movie, and I just wanted to shut it off. And
I understand that
kept going.
because it is very long and you feel the length.
Kept going. I fucking hated that. Just kept going too long.
It kind of plays
Fuck
like
that.
a novel, you know, like it's like a novel on screen.
Because it's based on a novel.
I know, but it, like the way it kind of plays out, you just kind of feel like it is instead of like a movie. It's not played like a movie as a film.
Conspired Podcast at Conspired on Twitter said it's a toss-up between Waiting to Exhale and Ginger Snaps Back. I have never seen either of those, so good on you. Chris Brayton from the More Good Than podcast said Jeepers Creepers. I actually somewhat enjoyed Jeepers Creepers when I was
a cult favorite.
Yeah, when I was a younger man. Lauren likes it. Kim likes it. We actually talked about it on during the fire. We were talking about Justin Long. Right. Jerkiah Lane at Jerkiah A Lane on Twitter said the only time I've ever left the theater was for Mr. 3000. It was a Bernie Mac baseball movie. I remember that movie. I didn't hate it that much. You walking out of the theater is probably the $10 that Bernie Mac didn't get for him to cure himself and not die. You probably
shame on you.
You probably killed him. Mars Champion at Mars Champion 21 said Gotti. I've never seen Gotti.
It just came out.
Did it?
Yeah, in theaters. John
At
Travolta
Cartoon
plays
Curious on Twitter said Bad versus Evil. I've never heard of this either, but it's a film with Michael Madsen. So,
ooh, yeah, that's like straight to DVD shit.
Yep.
Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy, or are you gonna bite?
Friends Talking Nerdy at FT Nerdy said The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I get this because I hate The Nightmare Before Christmas. And you know my dislike for most things Tim Burton with several exceptions. But most things in that Tim Burton-esque way I dislike. So I want to thank everybody for sharing your thoughts with us. I just wanted to see if anyone else ever shuts off movies. Most of the time I do just endure. I will just endure. But now with streaming services out there with so many options, why waste any bit of your free time?
I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Only movie homework. It's the only time I have to
Why
suffer.
waste any bit of your free time on a movie that you don't like? Sure, you can give it a chance to the end and you might squeak out a letter grade or two up in it, but you're not going to enjoy the majority of the film.
Yeah.
So why bother with it? So coming up next, me and Jay got some news stories that we're going to run through.
And now it's time for the news.
All right, Jay, we got some news stories that we got to run through. Why don't you kick it off for us?
Matt Reeves has confirmed that the Batman movie that he is developing is not a origin story, or it is not based on year one.
Which makes complete sense because all the rumors that we heard going into this was that it was based around Under the Red Hood.
Right.
Which is going to be our next movie, Cocktail Movie.
Exactly. So it's perfect.
But yeah, those were what all the rumors were. And they're also reporting that Matt Reeves has said that it is a very personal and defining story for Batman, but it is not the origin story, which I think makes sense. Why would you tell an origin story with Ben Affleck's character? He's playing an older Batman. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
But the Under the Red Hood, where he's already had two sidekicks named Robin under him, and one of them had died, that makes sense for a Batman.
And it ties in with the previous movies too, because there has been one that died already.
100%. Speaking of Ben Affleck, Jay, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are making a Monopoly movie with the Deadpool writers.
I guess.
It's going to be the story of how a former cop stole millions by rigging the McDonald's Monopoly game.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I like it. I mean, I guess they're the producers on it. I don't think they'll star in it, but they're probably the producers on it and stuff like that. But good on them for getting the Deadpool writers. Everyone seems to be hiring all those guys. Why not?
Hey, they want them. Why not?
Why not? Yeah, I mean, they've been shitting Hollywood gold for a couple of years.
It's good for marketing. Yeah.
Jay, this other one, and I know you've been following this story pretty closely, given that you were watching a James Gunn film for movie homework tonight. Disney has reported that they are unlikely to hire James Gunn back, despite all of the petitions that are going around and despite the cast's protests in his firing.
I'm honestly not that surprised.
So Variety reported that Disney refuses to change their decision after a series of older and offensive tweets had come out. According to insiders, Disney believes that James Gunn's jokes were not in line with the company's family-friendly image that they portray. Now, a lot of people are pissed off because this was actually a very small scandal in 2009 that James Gunn had already publicly apologized for, and it was already out in the public when he was hired.
Yeah, and it's old news, and like we were talked about before, this is shit that we didn't even know about, or I didn't hear much about, any kind of rumblings about until he was already fired. So it was obviously not national news. It was not like anything that where mainstream
and maybe that's
media were really
maybe that's why they were able to
out.
hire him, and now they feel like that they can't have him around because of this. I don't think it affects very many people. I don't think very many people are that offended by it, but I do still understand where Disney's coming from.
Right.
But so shortly after that Variety interview came out, Dave Bautista was being interviewed as well. And he took to Twitter not long after that. And he said on Twitter, "I will do what I'm legally obligated to do, but Guardians without James Gunn is not what I signed up for." That's what he tweeted on Sunday. And then he later tweeted, "Guardians of the Galaxy without James Gunn just isn't Guardians of the Galaxy. It also is pretty nauseating to work for someone who'd empower a smear campaign run by fascists and cyber Nazis. That's just how I feel."
Damn.
I know, man. And nauseating to, like, could you imagine walking into work and just be like, "Hey man, I'm going to do this job because I need the paycheck and I'm a damn good employee. So I'll continue doing this job, but working for you, it's nauseating." Like, say that to your boss, walk in and go, "It's nauseating, motherfucker."
Can I do that?
No, you cannot. You didn't sign a contract. You're
Yeah.
not worth millions of dollars like
I'm
Dave
not.
Bautista and the rest of Guardians of the Galaxy is.
But I respect him for saying it, and that's just really ballsy, especially to Disney. Talking like that.
All right, Jay, what other news stories you got?
Dun, dun, dun. Supergirl movie is in the works at Warner Brothers. Just announced.
They tried this back in the 80s and it flopped right around the same time that Superman 3 and Superman 4
This is going to take.
were stinking up the box office.
This is going to take a while to develop. I feel like.
Wasn't a Supergirl film a Canon film? I think it was Canon Films also when they acquired
Really?
the rights to Superman.
Yeah, they only hired a screenwriter to write a script. So
and no word
and
whether
you know how
this-
that goes. There's probably going to be like 5 different scripts written anyway.
And no word whether this is a DC EU movie or whether this is just
nothing.
a DC film, you know, because they're
But
not
obviously-
branching out.
But yeah, I mean, they're going to stick with the female train as far as like trying to develop all the characters, and they've been doing a great job with it so far. I mean, Wonder Woman has been playing really well.
DC also is making another film. They have the Teen Titans Go movie that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. I'm actually really excited for that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to take my daughter to. But they also want to tell a Legion of Super Pets animated movie in the works. So you're talking about Crypto and Ace the Bat Dog are going to be in a film, Jay, together. Every kid is clamoring for that shit. Let me tell you. But Teen Titans Go does look fun.
Fuck it.
Sony is reportedly developing another Spider-Man villain movie. This time, it's going to Kraven the Hunter. Now, I think this winds up adding a lot of credence to the fact that I think they're going to start pumping out some of these Spider-Man villain solo movies so that they can build their own Spider-Man universe like they were going to do back in the day. And that way, when the deal with Marvel is over, Sony has their own universe built already for them to continue telling Spider-Man stories in. And Jay, I'm pretty sure that Sinister Six film that they were working on, that's what all this is leading to. They didn't throw nothing away, man. They're still going hard with what their plans were before Marvel.
Good luck.
All they did was, and smartly used Marvel to make their to make their property profitable again.
All right.
So we all know that Leia is going to be returning. Carrie Fisher is going to be returning to episode 9 when that comes out. In what capacity, we were unsure. We now know. Lucasfilm has, previously stated that they didn't want to use CGI. They did not want to do what they did for Peter Cushing in Rogue One. They were not going to do that because how much Carrie Fisher, for at some time, had spoke out pretty publicly about how she wasn't happy about how her likeness was so used and stuff like that. So they didn't want to dishonor her in that way. So what they are going to wind up doing is using a lot of stock footage and a lot of stuff that has been filmed for the previous film, The Last Jedi, and it's going to be put into here. Now, reportedly, she was supposed to be a very central figure in the film, more so than she was in the first two films. So they now have to go back and change a lot to get this film made. We'll see how it turns out. I am happy about this. I think this is the right choice. Using actual footage of her rather than CGI rendering a model of her into there. It would throw it off so bad, and I do think it would honestly kind of besmirch her legacy a little bit.
Yeah, I hope it works out.
More Superman news, Jay. Superman wants to play the title character in Netflix series The Witcher. Henry Cavill wants to play Geralt from the very popular Witcher video game series. And I think that fits, man. I think that fits. But that's a very heavy R-rated video game. I mean, you're going to see Henry Cavill fucking a lot. You're going to see Henry Cavill fucking a lot. And he's going to have a really big sword. So
he's going to be fucking and cutting people up with swords.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, so am I. And he's going to have a beard, a white beard and white hair, because Geralt has white beard and white hair. So,
dude, come on. If he could pull off that mustache, he could pull off anything.
Get fucking pumped. That's what I'm saying. And finally, a legacy ends. Robert Redford is retiring from acting. The Old Man and the Gun will be his final film, and it releases in theaters this fall. Now, this isn't...
I saw the trailer. I don't know if you have, but I'm intrigued.
He's retiring from acting. He's still going to be directing. He's still going to be running the Sundance Film Festival.
Yep.
And I've liked a lot of his smaller later films. I like the one with him and Nick Nolte where they walk the Appalachian Trail together.
I still want to see that.
I thought that was a fun buddy comedy with two aging AARP members and stuff.
I really want to see that one. I just saw All Is Lost.
All Is Lost is fantastic. I fucking love that movie.
Very, very surprising. Very fantastic. It was one of those movies that I've been wanting to see for a long time. I'm a big fan of the director, so I was really intrigued to see it. I finally got around to seeing it. It was a extremely ambitious, really, it's a great film. Just go out and see it. It's a nice little treat for you.
You know what? You're Robert Redford. You've been on top for
forever.
50 fucking years in film. Yeah, whatever. Go out on top.
40 years or something. At least 40 years acting.
Do you, Robert Redford? Yeah. Go get your toes licked by many beautiful women. Go for it.
Damn right.
So coming up next, me and Jay got to get into our beers. Welcome, everybody, back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got two beers that we're going to be reviewing for you, but before we get into that, we got to drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover remedy. What it is a dissolvable tablet that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water, let that dissolve, drink it down, and within 15 to 20 minutes, your hangover starts to fade away. Just like that booty call that you left lying in bed this morning. That's the perfect way to describe it. It is only about $1.25 per dose, which is cheaper than any greasy breakfast sandwich that you will hail is a hangover cure, or your creepy uncle's mixture of Tabasco sauce, raw eggs, and lemon juice. That doesn't work either, but Blowfish does. So what you want to do is you want to go over to www.forhangovers.com. That's FOR hangovers.com. And use their promo code SMBFish for your 15% off. We got a drunk scene that we got to do before we start reviewing these beers. I'm kind of running out of drunk scenes. It's getting a little tough finding them.
It's hard.
But I am on a huge Game of Thrones kick again. I told you a couple weeks ago, me and Lauren had rewatched the entire series, and now I am rereading the books. And by rereading, what I mean is I just downloaded some audiobooks because I ain't got time to read these 700-page tomes. So I've been listening to the audiobooks, going through them. And
do you like it? Is it a good little change up? Because you've seen the series a few times,
and I've read the books before too. So but I haven't read the books since about 2012 or 2013. So it's been some time since I've read these books. So it's not new, but I'm finding things different. And I mean, I fall down YouTube holes an awful bit,
Yes,
where
you
it's
do.
like where it's Game of Thrones theories or just people discussing Game of Thrones. I listen to some Game of Thrones podcasts, etc.
So the reality of the stories get blurred from all the stuff that you watch from YouTube.
Oh yeah. But I came across the video of the Hound in season 2 when him and Arya are in a inn and they run into some of the king's men, and it's
Great scene.
Might be my favorite drunk scene of all time.
You got money?
Not a penny. I'll still take that chicken.
Tell you what, we'll trade you. One of our little chickens for one of yours. Give us a go at your friend.
Lowell there likes them a bit broken in.
You're a talker. Listening to talkers makes me thirsty. And hungry. Think I'll take 2 chickens.
You don't seem to understand the situation.
I understand that if any more words come pouring out your cunt mouth, I'm gonna have to eat every fucking chicken in this room.
You lived your life for the king. You're gonna die for some chickens.
Someone is.
Fucking love that scene.
Nobody says the word cunt better than him. I love it.
Any words come pouring out of your cunt mouth. he does. He sounds exactly like my Ridley Scott impression.
Yeah, I know exactly. Oh my god, it's uncanny. Just so you guys know, he was drinking the other guy's beer.
Well, no. So first, while the guy's talking, he drains his beer.
Yeah.
And that's when he tells him that listening to people talk makes him thirsty. And he reaches across the table and he grabs the other guy's horn and then just downs that beer. Well, ale. Well, it doesn't matter. Mead. Who cares? And I like there's this awkward like turns, and he's looking at all of his buddies. And he turns back, and you can tell he's like 6, 7. All right, we got enough. I can stand up here.
Yeah,
I fucking, and of course, I mean it ends in a brawl. But I love the Hound. He's probably one of my favorite characters in the TV show. Just period. I absolutely love him.
Well, and you know, to be honest, it's one of those things where it grows in time. And his charm grows with you in time too, because in the beginning, in the first couple seasons, he's just, you don't know what he is and who he is and like what the point of his character is, but he progresses in such a perfect way.
Right, but he's still an asshole the whole time. And
exactly.
And he has the best insults. I love when he tells he tells the Red Priest, and he's like, "You think
a lot of good ones.
You think you're fooling anyone with that top knot on top of your head, you bald cunt." All right, Jay, we got 2 beers that we got to review here. So let's get started, man. What do you got over there for your beer?
I have Foreign Objects Chrysalis into Beauty Ale with hops. It is 9% alcohol by volume. It's got a funny, cool-looking little can, though. It's got a little... It almost looks like a water painting. And it has the words, "Would you drink me? I drink me. I drank me so hard." And it's got a little picture of some lips.
So what? Now, first off, that is a line, obviously, from Silence of the Lambs.
Would you fuck me?
So what do you think of this mammoth ale that you were drinking? 9%, man.
9%. You know, it's such a weird beer, but in a good way. It's kind of like, it reminds me of last episode's beer in some ways, where it has like this hazy kind of juiciness to it. A really lovely nose, but the flavor is it has that slight bitter aftertaste that doesn't really sit well with me. And it doesn't have a strong alcohol flavor, but it is pretty drinkable. And, you know, I think overall it's a pretty well done beer. It's just a bizarre kind of beer. I just can't quite explain it. You know, it doesn't have that many kind of hops up front. It's kind of just all blended together. It doesn't have too many great flavor notes in it, but I would still give it a 3.5 out of 5.
All right, man. And I am drinking the Free Will Brewing Company, which is a very local brewing company to us, out of Percy, Pennsylvania. This is their Micromanager IPA. It's a session IPA, but it is done in, it says New England style. I don't get that here at all. This is extremely, and when I say like yellow, like this is yellow. It looks
lemonade.
It looks like hazy lemonade, which it also tastes like a hoppy hazy lemonade, because there are heavy notes of citrus and predominantly lemon. There's definitely lemon that's used in this because it tastes very lemony. It doesn't even register on the IBUs. They just put micro for its IBUs. It's very low IBUs. It's not crazy hoppy. There's just a slight hop to the finish, but that's not a bad thing. This thing is only 4.5% alcohol by volume, and I actually really dig it. It's not anything that I'm in love with, but if this was
every line is coming out with session IPAs now. Like it's kind of like a staple that every place needs to have.
No, because it's summer. Summer is session IPAs, light IPAs,
I know.
light things, and that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
If I was drinking this on a Sunday afternoon, hot Sunday afternoon, lounging in the pool, fucking A, this is fucking perfect. If I'm going out to the bar though and I'm pounding brews, not exactly what I'm going to be reaching for. It's a nice, easy day sipper. But man, I'm really digging it. I would give it a 4. The only thing that really knocks it down a little bit is it is pretty heavy on the lemons, very heavily lemony, and that's it's a little bit too much of the lemon. But like I said, because it's nighttime, if this was the middle of the afternoon, I might enjoy it.
Yeah,
a little bit more.
That's understandable.
But I really do dig the flavor profile of it, and I've been getting into session IPAs a whole lot more, especially with me like watching my weight and counting calories. The lower alcohol content, the session IPAs, and the lighter your beers and stuff like that, most of the time, the less the calorie intake that's in it. So and plus, I just don't want to get drunk anymore. I like the taste of my beers. I don't need to get wrecked. So like if I'm having a 9%, if I was drinking that foreign objects that you're drinking, that's it. That would be the only beer I had tonight.
Understandable, because like I said earlier in the show, I got pretty wrecked yesterday, so I'm easing into the night. Yeah.
All right. Well, coming up next, me and Jay have our movie homeworks, which were assigned to us by 2 of our patrons on Patreon. And we're going to be talking about Quigley Down Under and Slither. All right, Jay, we got 2 movie homework assignments that we got to get through. We are now, with the Patreon open, we are allowing our patrons to decide our movie homeworks. So I wanted, people to assign one to you and one to me. That way, you can't accuse me of assigning you films just to watch you squirm.
I like this better.
Yeah, it turns out that our patrons decided they want to watch you squirm as well. And I do want to start off with your movie homework film, Slither.
Where is the Mr. Pibb? I told your secretary to pack Mr. Pibb. It's the only Coke I like. Goddamn Brenda's floating like a water balloon. The worms driving my friends around like they're goddamn skin cars. People are spitting acid at me, turning into cottage cheese, and now there's no fucking goddamn Mr. Pibb. Jesus Christ, Jack, let me get right on it.
All right, Jay.
That's the ending credits song. I love it.
Yes, I did love that song in it. But so I had saw Slither probably several years ago, and I really enjoyed it. Back when it came out, and I mean, especially because I love Nathan Fillion. Like, I love Nathan Fillion. I didn't know who James Gunn was at the time, but I love Nathan Fillion. Like,
yeah, he's up there with like Idris Elba for you.
He's not quite there. Not quite there. He's just more like, he's a
John Hamm.
Yeah. All right, I'll put that one aside. All right. But like, if I ever met Nathan Fillion in person, like, I would just walk by him. I wouldn't go, "Hey Nathan, I'm a big fan." I would just go, "Captain." That's it, because he's Captain Malcolm fucking Reynolds, man. That's all that matters.
All right.
He'll always be Captain Malcolm fucking Reynolds. I don't care. Women can say, "Oh, that's that guy that played Castle." Fuck Castle.
I actually liked Castle. I watched like a season.
Some of the highest
Out
rated.
of all the 8 seasons I watched.
Some of the highest rated episodes of Council were the ones where Halloween he dressed up as Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly. Did he? Yeah, in one episode, people got very excited for that. But Jay, what did you think of Slither, man? I mean, this is a film that's right up my alley, so it makes sense.
Where do I start? It's not my cup of tea.
No shit. The guy who didn't like Evil Dead 2, Slither, a horror comedy, was not your cup of tea.
Yeah, so I would say that this was tolerable, but still very disgusting.
More tolerable than Evil Dead 2?
Yeah.
All right.
Especially towards the very end when I finally kind of figure out the movie is literally just a stupid shit show of a movie and doesn't have to make any kind of sense at all, and it doesn't have to have any kind of real...
It made absolute sense.
Come on.
It made absolute sense, Jay. You just couldn't follow the plot. This is too difficult of a plot for you to follow.
But my favorite thing about this movie was the written dialogue. That's the best part of the movie.
I fucking love that scene where the mayor is going apeshit in the back.
It's a great rant.
So they're Martians? No, Martians come from Mars, and it's like it's a figure of speech.
I believe he was played by Greg Henry.
Yes.
Michael Rooker, he was perfectly casted for this role. You know, he's a sleazeball character in the movie, and before he turns into this crazy monster by some kind of alien from space that comes back crashing down to Earth. And Elizabeth Banks is just 2006 Elizabeth Banks.
Exactly.
And, essentially. And Nathan Fillion was okay. Just okay. I wasn't...
He's never okay. He's always amazing. Come on. I love that. I love that part where he's just like, of course, when people ask, it was me who saved you from the deer.
Yeah. No, he threw some good jokes out there, but like...
Why don't you tell her what happened with the deer? Oh, yeah.
Just tell you just
saved
kind
me
of
from
like
the deer.
going through the motions.
So he was actually the last person hired for this. He was hired 2 days before shooting started.
Oh, wow.
He did not have a lot of time to get familiar with that script, my friend.
All right, that makes sense then. And then that other young girl that has some kind of connection with the movie, but is really just shoehorned in there because she's hot.
You saw her boob. Boob. I stress.
A nip.
Boob.
Little nip slip.
Yeah, a little nip slip.
She had no career in Hollywood after this. I don't know how, but I guess she was that bad of an actress. Duh. Anyway, but it was a fine experience. It was a long hour and 30 minutes, though.
No,
I'll tell you what.
Not.
For me, it felt like it dragged.
Dude, it
just kept on going on.
The way I
and
look
on and
at
on.
this,
and it was so grotesque, and disgusting, and that's not my cup of tea of horror. I don't like that kind of horror.
That's exactly what you want from.
And that's not fun horror for me.
So
I don't really have fun horror. I like horror. Like I like being scared.
This is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I don't like feeling grossed out. So this fucking Human Centipede movie, fuck you, Justin.
This is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Kind of meets like a Night of the Living Dead. Small town being taken over by zombies, but it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers as well. You know, it looks.
I get it,
and I love the grotesqueness, love it, because there is so much that goes into practical special effects. Like I love that. I love like when all of that, when like that level of detail goes into it. And I thought Michael Rooker at the end looked fantastic. That's all practical makeup, man, with Michael Rooker underneath.
No, I know.
That looks great.
Yeah, no, they did a great job with that.
Great for that.
They did.
The CGI slugs, on the other hand. No, they didn't look great. But when they did practical effects, they looked pretty fucking fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, James Gunn was practically a first-time director at this point. This was his first theatrical feature film. So, you know, you got to cut him a little bit of slack there as well. And he was also the writer of it, too.
I know.
Which is why you loved that snappy dialogue, because that's just pure James Gunn right there. And that's,
the dialogue, you know, I remember the marketing. I always remember that poster with the the girl in the bathtub with all those little slug-looking things slithering around her. It's an eye catcher, right?
So you didn't like the humor in this at all? You didn't find this humorous at all?
No, that's what I'm saying. I like the written dialogue.
So what is wrong with you? Like, why do you like the humor here, but don't like the humor in Evil Dead 2? I'm not saying they're one for one, but
dude, humor is hard.
It's the most subjective thing in the world. I understand,
but also not even just that. Tonally, it has to flow right. You know, it's a small thin line, Dave. Editing is played involved with it.
Evil Dead 2 flows. It fucking flows. It's amazing. You're literally watching a man delve into insanity until more people show up, and then he's slightly less insane, but they think he's even more insane. So I think Evil Dead 2 is better than Slither, but I still really, really, really love this movie too. I mean, it's not a masterpiece, but I love it.
This is not. I mean, you and Kim love this kind of genre, and I just loathe it because it's just not for me.
I think it's because you watch movies alone, right? Like when I watch these movies for like the first time, I watch them with friends and stuff, and we always have fun watching them because we kind of like banter with the movie and we have fun with the movie watching it.
Yeah.
So when you watch it again,
that's not my style.
Like you watch everything alone. So and you're not a funny person, so
no.
you don't make jokes to yourself and make yourself laugh.
No.
Like you're not. So I think like when you say like humor. It's not humorous. What you're really saying is I don't find the
horror humor.
You don't find the humor in it because you're not a funny person. That's what it comes down.
And that's why I specified I liked the written dialogue in the movie and not the campiness of the horror and stuff like that, all that kind of thing.
Like when
which a lot of people have fun with.
The guy picks up the German Shepherd head. And he's like, he threw this one all the way over here. He's like shaking a dead dog. Don't touch that.
But it was nasty. It was a nasty movie, and you could. I don't know.
What about Brenda in the barn with the big fat woman in the barn, and she's swelled up, and but they're having like a normal conversation.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, we got to get you to a hospital. like you can fix this. Like this can be fixed.
Like, Chief, what the hell is a hospital going to do with this girl?
I do love it.
I mean, it's I don't know.
How are your kids? I think they're all right. How are they? Like they're just having a normal conversation with this literal woman that's swelled up like a tick who's been drinking on.
And it is kind of weird how
personal summer.
It's like they're like a combination of the alien and a combination of themselves, but they pretty much act like the aliens. Desires essentially just to eat meat all the time.
Well, you eat meat all the time because it needed to feed what was growing inside her, which ultimately was the slugs. Have you seen any slugs? No. Like, well, they look like slugs. I
just saw one this morning,
but they're faster. Like that's the way he described them. They look like slugs, but they're fast. Like, have you seen
this? A little
this?
fatter, red, a little faster.
I think this movie is great. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if Justin has done this for So I Married a Movie Geek with Chrissy yet, but I think if he's going to give you Human Centipede, we can at least send Slither right back to him and let him and Chrissy watch Slither.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do that.
That sounds like a good idea. All right, Jay. I had a movie homework too that came from Chris. Now, this was Chris from the More Gooder Than podcast, who's also one of our patrons. Mm-hmm. And he gave me Quigley Down Under.
Some men are born in the wrong century. I think I was born on the wrong continent. Oh, by the way, you're fired.
All right. And Quigley Down Under is a film that came out in 1990, and it stars Tom Selleck and Alan Rickman. And this was actually a film that was assigned to me because Chris did it for More Gooder Than on episode number 13 of their show, which was called Rickman Rolled. Like it's because they did all three films with Alan Rickman in it. And it's actually...
Did they both have mustaches?
It was one of my favorite episodes of the More Gooder Than ever. So when I told him that he had to assign me a movie for movie homework, he immediately went right for this. And it's really the story of a sharpshooter whose name is Matthew Quigley, who gets hired by a rancher out in the Australian outback, whose name is Elliot Marston. And he brings him in because he is able to shoot things from 900 yards away with his specially made rifle that he created. And what he is brought out there to do is what he thinks he's there to do is to shoot coyotes and dingoes to stop them from messing with Mr. Marston's livestock and other means of money. But what he ultimately finds out there, he's there to force pacification of the Aborigines. meaning kill Aborigines so that he can expand his land without fear of the Aborigines fighting back. Sure. He takes Mr. Matthew Quigley, the good man that he is, takes exception to that, beats the shit out of Alan Rickman, throws him out of his own home, and is prepared to have a last stand there and kill all of Mr. Marston's men. They wind up catching him and leaving him for dead out in the desert. And there he winds up being nursed back to health by the Aborigines. And the entire time he is joined by a woman, Crazy Cora. Crazy Cora is named so because she constantly calls Quigley Roy, who is the name of her husband. And as you later find out, there was some terrible goings-on that happened for her back when she lived in America that involved a raider coming into her home and the smothering of her own child by her.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Roy took her to a ship, dropped her off, and she went to Australia with nothing else. So she had to become a lady of the evening.
Okay, naturally.
So Quigley and Crazy Cora both are left out in the desert, and Aborigines are the one who saved them and saved their lives. So it becomes Quigley's mission to stop Marston and his men from basically killing the Aborigine people. And you know what? I didn't hate this movie, man. I actually liked it a fair bit. I didn't love it by all means, but watching it, I was like, so that's why they wanted Tom Selleck to play Indiana Jones. He's nowhere near as charismatic as Harrison Ford was in the role, but he does have charisma, and I do like it. But honestly, Alan Rickman is the one who steals the show in this. I mean, he's only in it for, I would say, maybe...
He has a knack for doing that.
He's in it for maybe 10 minutes of screen time in a film that is 2 hours long. So, he does have a knack for doing it. And he plays such a good bad guy. Like, he's such a fantastic bad guy, Alan Rickman. I love when he's a bad guy. He's just so good at it. But I mean, really, one of the things that I didn't like about this movie that I bring up is the score doesn't always match what's going on. There's so the score that I played is like a little bit of an intro into this, into me talking about Quigley Down Under.
A little overly dramatic kind of
No,
thing?
it's less dramatic. It's like do 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 do.
Oh.
Like you heard it on the headphones
Right.
as I played it before we came in, right? They were playing a similar score to that as they're slaughtering Aborigines. And I will say this, it's a film that's PG-13. It's extremely brutal. Like, it's pretty brutal. Like, not bloody.
So you think that maybe they changed it, perhaps?
I don't know.
In the editing room, like it was an R movie. Then in the editing room, they kind of added that kind of music. I don't know. Try to lighten up to be PG-13.
No one knows anything about this fucking movie. This is not a movie you spend a whole lot of time researching. Don't sit here and ask me questions like I spent a whole lot of time researching this shit. I just watched it last night. But what I was saying is at times the score does not match what's going on. The score seems pretty happy as they're slaughtering Aborigines. I was like, that's a mixed message. It's okay to slaughter Aborigines.
Yeah.
You should be happy about this.
Oh, of course.
But I mean, no, it really is, somewhat brutal in the fact that it does show, it's not bloody and gory and stuff, but it does show the slaughter of people. And there's a dingo attack at one point, which is terrifying. But at the same point, I was like, this felt to me like a made for TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was, it's a pretty damn good made for TV movie. And, Tom Selleck is known for making, made for TV movies, Jesse Stone and I don't know, all these other Tom Selleck, movies, Monty Washington and, The Shadow Rivers and all these other made for TV movies that are about that are about cowboys and stuff like that. He is a TV star. He's not a movie star. He's a TV star. Magnum PI is what really put him on the map. But Jay, what I find interesting about this film is Ben Mendelsohn is in this movie, man. A very young Ben Mendelsohn, and he plays the character of O'Flynn. He's like the young kid who works for Marston. So I thought that was actually pretty cool when I was watching it. I was like, holy shit, that's Ben Mendelsohn. And he looks really fucking young.
Damn, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's kind of like a who's who of Australian actors because Quigley Down Under takes place in Australia, and it was actually filmed on location in Australia. So I didn't hate this movie. I had a good time with it. Really, what it was, I just had a good time with fucking Alan Rickman, man.
I can see that. I mean, Alan's he chews up the scenery in a lot of different kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, he just oozes with like this arrogant air that he just does it so effortlessly. There's a part where like he just kind of like laughs at Quigley, and he goes just like yes,
Only he can do that.
I wish I could do that. Like, and the entire time I'm watching, every time he talks, I'm picturing him going, "Name's Bill Clay." Is this film worth your time? Not at all. But everybody really should get out there and see Slither.
I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah, watch it.
More than Slither.
It's on Amazon Prime. So mine was free. You probably had to pay for yours, Jay, because I didn't find it streaming anywhere.
$4.
Yeah. But what a great $4 it was, man. It was so worth it.
Teach their own.
You didn't get to shut that one off, though, because as our rule for movie homework, no matter how bad the film you think the film is, you can't shut it off.
No, I saw it in one shot.
And coming up pretty soon, Jay, you're going to have to watch another animated film, Batman Under the Red Hood. So you think you're going to make it through that one? You think you're going to be able to finish an animated film?
I think so. It's Batman.
Yeah, I think that seems to be your quick
I'm optimistic.
entry point.
Yeah.
Although you did get through Akira pretty well, and I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, that was harder than you. That was hard. Trust me, that was hard.
I'm pretty proud of you for getting it through that. So if you would like to assign us any movie homework, all you have to do is go over to www.patreon.com/supermoviebrospodcast and just join one of our tiers. Right now, for the month of August, even if you only pledge $1, you still get to pick from the loot chest. Now, normally the loot chest is reserved for second tier, $5 a month or more. But if you join right now for the month of August for $1, you get to pick something from the loot chest. And we do have pictures of everything that we have for the loot chest up on Patreon. I also post things on Twitter from time to time. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod if you would like to reach out to us. And we do listener questions. We run polls at times. So reach out to us. Let us know what you would like to see on the show, or if you would like us to give you a shout out on the show. Jay also runs the Facebook Super Movie Brothers podcast on there. So be sure that you also check out our sponsor if you like to drink and you want to cure yourself of that, midweek hangover. It's Wednesday night. You're saying,
perfect.
Fuck it, I can't stand work, and you go out, you get drunk, but you still got to go to work on Thursday. You're gonna need some Blowfish. Go over to www.forhangovers.com. Promo code SMBFish. Get a little bit of discount on us. And end hangovers forever. It's a severe disease, and we're here to bring an end to it. And if you're enjoying our show, make sure that you head over to www.podfixnetwork.com and check out all the other great shows and programming that are over there on the Podfix Network. I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.